In this video, I'm going to share 24 things that I wish I knew before I started to build my personal brand. If you don't know me, my name is Houston Cole. I've been creating content for over a decade. I was a videographer for events. When worldwide pandemic happened, I've lost everything. I took that as a sign that something needed to change. So I started to build my personal brand. I helped other creators build their personal brands, which resulted in millions of views, hundreds of thousands of followers, and I've gotten over 100,000 people to trust me with their attention. However, I've almost quit just because I did not know or I did not understand the things that I will share with you in this video. Lesson number 1, start with an offer in mind. Have something to sell when you start creating content, because the content that you create has to build context about what you're selling. So you don't create from content into the product. That's what a lot of creators do. You want to have some sort of MVP and market from that MVP, meaning that create content about what problem your product solves. And that could be anything, a template, a swipe file, and that's how from day one you can start generating cash flow. Because a lot of creators build an audience first and then they actually don't even know what to sell to them, wasting not only their time making the content, but I know creators that have quit their personal brands on Instagram with 300,000 followers, with 400,000 followers. I almost experienced the same fate. Lesson number 2, have the end in mind. You want to reverse engineer everything that you're doing. What it takes from somebody to not knowing you to buying from you. What steps do they need to take? What content do they need to consume? What context do they need to have? We live in a very low trust era. People need to know, like, and trust us. And that is built through specific pieces of content, or what I like to call context. Lesson number 3 is that it's not about you, it's about them. It is not about how good you are. It's not about how amazing you are. Everything is about the viewer, about their problems, their circumstances, and their desires. If you can show them how to solve their problems, how to get out of their circumstances, and get to the goals and the desires that they want, you'll do better than most people on social media. Lesson number 4 is to understand that human psychology is what drives the algorithm. The psychology hasn't changed for tens of thousands of years. If you zoom out and take a look at the big picture, what is the goal of social media platforms? Or what is the goal of the algorithm? It's very simple. The platforms are incentivized to make money. So how do they make money? By having people on the platform for longer. So how do they keep people on the platform for longer? By showing them good content, by an estimation, because obviously not every single piece of content is the best, but the better content they show, the longer people stay on the platform, so they can show more ads to them. For Instagram and Facebook, most of the money comes from advertising. So your goal isn't to crack the algorithm. Your goal is to make better watchable content than somebody else. And because of the barrier to entry, everybody's a content creator. Like my grandmother makes YouTube videos. The competition isn't too high, but the standards of people watching the content has gone up. So if you can just live up and exceed those standards, you'll go pretty quick. Lesson number 5 is to understand the buyer's journey. When people come across your content, they're not always going to be ready to buy. Some people will not even be aware that they have the problem that you solve. Some people will just be in pain, but they will not know why they're experiencing. Some people will already be aware of the pain, but they'll be looking for a right solution, and they will not know that you're the right solution. So in the end, you need to understand the buyer's journey, and I'll show it to you here on the screen. But if you can create content for all of these phases, you will naturally move people from unaware to I am ready to buy from you. That's one of the reasons why short form content takes time, because people need to go through all these phases. When it comes to long form content, you can pretty quickly take people through those phases because way more consumption, way faster. Just understanding these 5 stages will put you ahead of most content creators and personal brands out there. Lesson number 6 is that hooks capture attention, value makes people stay. Now you could say there's a bit of a nuance there, because I always recommend people, and I do that, put 80% of your effort into the hook. Because once people commit some time to watching your content, even if your value is just a little bit average, but specific enough, people will watch it, all of it, or most of it. However, a lot of creators make this mistake that they put too much of value. So it doesn't really respect the viewer's time. The way I see it, a short form piece should solve for one problem, get straight to the point, don't waste the viewer's time, because I like to think in terms of value per second, not seconds of value. Sometimes you already have a winning piece of content. It's just bloated. Lesson number 7, double down on what works. I've struggled with this for a very long time, and I still do. I find myself and a lot of other creators, they find a winning idea, they post it once, maybe twice, and they're on to the next one. But in reality, the thing that you need to do is you need to learn to talk about the same thing 100 different ways and milk the format, milk the hooks. Of course, you should continue to test new formats, new ideas, different hooks, but only about like 10% of the time. Lesson number 8, and this is a huge one, is to stop chasing vanity metrics. Likes and followers are not the game here. The game here is revenue, the cash that you make. However, there's a very valid point for likes and followers. It gives you leverage. If you have 100,000 followers, you can probably message any brand, message anybody really, as long as it's within the same niche, and you will get a response. Not only you will get a response, but you will probably get the deals, so on and so forth. So vanity is going to give you leverage, but vanity doesn't equal cash. I'm not gonna lie. It's very funny for me to see when I meet people and they see that I have 100,000 followers and they go like crazy. They instantly treat me differently, which is kind of weird, but also pleases my ego. Lesson number 9, create customers first. When I started making content, I was sold the idea that you only need to sell high ticket. Leads either buy or die. Then I was exposed to this another idea that I can get paid to create. I can create trainings that people pay me for $50, $100, depending on how big the training is. People get access to it, they interact with me, and then once they get a result with it, they have enough trust to buy the more expensive thing. Now, you can also make money with your low ticket offer. I'm not saying that you only need to sell high ticket or only low ticket. You can create an ecosystem where both really feed each other, or should I say, the low ticket feeds into the higher ticket. Because you as a creator don't solve just one problem, you solve many different problems. And each one of those problems can be monetized with tools, templates, swipe files, with something that people can use. Lesson number 10, context converts. A lot of people will tell you, or online gurus will tell you, that you need to have content pillars. But in the end, what I understood and what I've learned is that people need context. So what I've created is context pillars. Any transformation, just like any story, any journey, it has a beginning, middle, and end. So what context do people need to go to that journey? And when you create content this way, using context pillars and creating context, that's how you bridge the gap between them and your offer. Not just random posting, random content strategies. Number 11, make content about perspective, not just information. Right now, we live in an era where AI literally just democratized information. I can go into ChatGPT and ask it to make me some courses. Literally, people sell courses on how to make courses with AI, which is crazy. We live in such era. So people lack perspective and insight. They lack experience. So if you can just create content based on that, people will value it a lot more. It's a personal brand for a reason. It's like, what was your experience? What's your perspective on things? How do you see things differently from everybody else? Especially right now when perspective is very rare. Lesson number 12, understand broad versus specific. Imagine your content as a funnel. So at the top of the funnel, you have broad reach where you get people to know you. Middle of funnel is more about building that trust and authority. And at the bottom of the funnel, the content down there is essentially created to make sales. And there are two types of creators. Some creators just can focus on the top of the funnel, getting more broad, getting more reach, getting more followers, but they lack authority. And when they try to make sales content, it doesn't really work. And then there are those technical experts who can create really good sales content or really good authority, but nobody knows about them. So by just understanding this little concept of the content funnel, the difference between broad reach and specific sales content, you're going to be ahead of most people once more. You're going to be able to make better decisions and understand what kind of content you're lacking. So long story short, broad gets reach, specificity gets customers. Lesson number 13 is become a leader. To get followers, to grow an audience, you need to become a leader. You need to be worthy of being followed. So how do you do that? Well, leaders decide on a direction. They decide, this is what I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to do it. You can join me or not. And that can be scary because you put yourself out there. You set these goals and you don't know if you're going to achieve them. And even if you don't achieve them, even if you achieve them 50%, so what? You've done 50% more than most people will ever do. Because most people don't even know what they want. And if worst comes to worst, you can always change the direction in any way you're going because it's your brand and you make the decisions. Number 14 is to treat your brand like a Netflix show because you are the protagonist. You are the leader. You're making things happen. And more importantly, when there's a storyline to follow, people pay attention. In other words, do stuff and share the stuff that you're doing. Lesson number 15. Organic builds your brand, ads gets customers. Organic content builds a brand, which builds trust, which takes time. But if you run ads, it's pretty easy to create an offer and just quickly test it out with $100 if people are interested in your product. You can also use ads to build your audience, getting people into your funnel or into your world that are interested in what you're doing, in what problems you're solving. In the end, you'll probably end up using both strategically. Your network is your leverage. Once you have good foundations of your personal brand, and I don't mean thousands of followers or something along the lines of that, you have good profile, good photos, even maybe a couple of cool videos, you can simply start collaborating, connecting, and building relationships. Because even before I had thousands of followers, I already had my profile set up in a way where I was like showing people that I'm living a interesting life. And that has opened so many doors for me that I can genuinely say that Instagram has changed my life. Lesson number 17, content quality matters. Content quality doesn't only help retention, but it's also the way people judge you. If your content is easier to consume, if the editing is aesthetic, tasteful, these things not only help with retention, but it presents you as an authority. And I'm not even talking about simple adjustments like adding color grade. Color grading exists for a reason. It's to give people that augmented reality experience. Also helps with branding as well and keeping your content consistent, making it look different. Video, audio, grading, editing, all that is important because not only people will assume that you're an authority, but sometimes it's the only chance that you get to capture their attention. Lesson number 18, create assets every single day. Templates, swipe files, checklists, SOPs. Every single one of these things is marketable. It is sellable. It saves time and builds value. And again, most of you watching this video already have these things somewhere sitting, waiting to be used or to be sold. Lesson 19. Every result is content. Every win, every loss, every experience is a marketable result. It's a headline. It's a hook that you can use for a piece of content. You just need to understand how to package it better. But generally, everything that happens, it's like sawdust. You're making this big thing, but you have these little small things happening while you're making the big thing. And all of those small things is content. Lesson number 20. You don't need a big audience to make money. Our biology gets better of us. We want that status and we think, okay, we're going to have more status, we're going to have more attention, we will be able to make more money. But that's not the case at all. If that was the case, then every single influencer would be rich. As I mentioned previously in the video, you want to focus on creating good offers, creating content that is relevant to the people that you solve those problems for with that offer, and building trust. Of course, you need to get more traffic, you need to get more attention, you need to go a bit more broad. But as I've said, if you only just focus on broad content, you're not going to build trust, you're not going to get sales, and then you're going to be quitting Instagram at 500,000 followers. Lesson 21. I believe in selling your own products, coming up with your own mechanisms, with your own frameworks. Selling your own products makes you being in control and not relying on cheap and shady brand deals. The amount of DMs I get from all these AI tools that is kind of ridiculous, to be honest. But I've never done a brand deal and I don't think I will, unless it is from Canon or Aperture. Lesson number 22 is to build an email list, because you don't really own the attention that you have. You could completely be banned off the platform tomorrow, like it happened to me. I got banned from Instagram for a couple of weeks, and that costed me a lot of money and growth as well. So you want to drive the attention that you get off the platform. It could be a private community on school, wherever your people hang out. But most importantly, you want to build your email list so you own that attention. Lesson number 23. You want to build the timeless skills. You want to build skills that get attention. You want skills that help you make an offer, sales skills, copywriting skills, no trick, no strategy is going to last forever. However, learning a timeless skills, understanding human psychology is going to benefit you in the long run because all of these algorithms will change, but psychology isn't going to change anytime soon. And finally, understand that building a personal brand is a long game. Results are not going to happen overnight. The thing that you want to do is stay consistent, keep improving, keep learning the skills, keep testing new offers, but never quit, because the only time you can lose is when you quit. If you enjoyed this video, you should probably watch this one next, because in this one, I break down my plan to making $1 million a year.